Hello painting students. This video, I thought I needed to make it. I've been getting everyone's little practices that they've been turning in, which is awesome, but there's some things that we need to talk about for a lot of things that I'm seeing on a wide scale. So first thing I want to state is the good stuff that I've been seeing. Majority of everyone has been doing a really good job thinking about movement in their paintings. So for example, they're thinking about how line leads to the focal point. Like I've seen a lot of people use an S-shape, compressed S-shape composition to lead to the focal point. And they've also been doing a really good job of creating a composition, like where is your focal point located in the picture plane. So whether if you're thinking about rule of thirds or L shape or S curve or symmetrical composition, etc., everyone's doing a fantastic job at doing that. So good work on movement, good work on focal point. Something that I'm seeing people struggle with are values and breaking up things with color variety. So first one, okay, values. Go darker, go darker, go darker, go darker. And I realize with watercolor that can be really difficult sometimes of how dark your paint is. A little trick that you can do to help see how dark something is, if like if I brush my brush across this and I see that amount of white coming through, that's how dark that color is. I'm going to come in, come down, make a mark. It's not that dark. So let's see. So I'm going to add more paint to this. This one's it's getting a little darker, but it's still not dark enough. So if you're struggling with getting really dark values with a paint, which I also struggle with, moisten your paint first in your palette. So I went through and got a spray bottle and I sprayed all these paints really wet, and I probably should give them more time to let the paint kind of soak in, but that will help get your paint darker. And I'm dragging this across. This is a little bit more darker than the last one, and so and have maybe less water that is happening in your paint. That will also help. So another trick I do is before I make a brush mark, sometimes I have a scrap piece of paper and I just do little test strokes to determine, oh, I need to get that darker. And then I continue to, add more paint, a higher ratio of paint to my water to just, or if I need to get it lighter even, like I do little brush strokes to see if it's lighter. So make sure you go darker. A lot of people are working a little too light. I can't emphasize enough how important that contrast of light and dark is in a painting, that you need to have that contrast. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about is breaking up shapes and spaces with color variety and color changes. So when you guys look at a photograph, I'm going to bring up this one. I'm going to redo this painting right here because oh wait, which one is it? No, not this one. This one. I'm not too happy how this one turned out for me. There's a lot of issues with it that I do not like. And what I'm noticing is like this right here, or let me go on to the photograph. This right here is a shape, right? It's a big generalized area. Be careful about treating it as a flat shape. So what I mean by that, I'm going to go to my painting right here. I've already sketched it out. Alright, so let's say I'm trying to paint this and I'm judging, oh, it's kind of like this yellowy ochre brownish color, right? And I come in with my brush and I say, okay, this is a shape. There's my colored shape. When it's one unified color, it's going to come across very, very flat. And what we want to do is create depth. Now, ways you can create depth is to create differing values, or also having color changes that are happening in here. And when I look at this, like there's a lot of different values happening. It gets a lot darker over here. There's kind of little marks, etc. happening over here. And I think particularly pictures like this where there's not a lot of color happening, it's really hard not to make it look too bland. So let's see. I'm going to think about what colors can I add to this to make it interesting. Maybe like an Indian red. I can start putting some things in. So just putting a different color in there, that's going to create a lot more visual interest, and it's also going to create depth. For some reason my gut wants to put some blue in here. I'm not sure why, but we're going to try it. Maybe I'll regret it. When you're doing this, you got to be careful, like, of making it too muddy. So like if I have this color and then I try to add another color to it, you know, like right now that's looking okay, but if I just kind of keep on going and going and going and just kind of mix it and mix it, what happens is it's just going to turn into a muddy mess. So you have to be careful. A really good example that I stole this from a trash can. And so anyways, this is a demo that was done by Carl Purcell, and he threw it away, and I saved it because I thought it was an excellent example. But here he has a picture of barn, and you can see the color variances that he's putting in that barn. He chose two different colors for that first layer of this kind of this reddish brown and then this blue. And what it does is it creates a visual interest and some depth. And once that was finished, he started adding some textures with like a darker value and did some dry brush work, and also just paying attention to his light and dark patterns where he's taking these, it could be grass, it could be posts, where there's these breaks of white values happening with these darker values to give this sense of this grass or other, you know, organic matter that's growing in front of this beat up barn. So add color variants. Don't think of it as just a shape. So anyways, right now looking at this, the values are all pretty much the same. I'm probably going to wait for this to dry, and then I'll come back and create some darker values where I see some darker values to just help create that form in it. Let's see. So anyways, those are the two major things that I want you guys to think about when you're painting. So again, number one, push your values darker. Go so much darker, particularly in that focal point where you want that high contrast. And secondly, break up your shapes or spaces with color variances or value variances. Don't create a flat shape. Think how you can push it. So anyways, if you guys have questions, those of you who are starting into the final, please let me know, and I'll get back to you. But meanwhile, please continue turning in the exercises because it really helps me see how I can help you guys since I'm not there with you. Other than that, stay safe. We love you guys, and just keep on plugging along day by day. Find a routine. All right.